Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to another episode of Depth in Wisdom. One day, a weary traveler found himself at the gates of a peaceful ashram, hidden deep in the serene embrace of the mountains. Seeking refuge from the storm of his thoughts, he entered the sacred space hoping to find answers to the questions that had weighed on his heart for so long. For 2 days, he wandered the quiet halls of the ashram, observing the monks in meditation and the gentle rustle of nature that seemed to flow in harmony with their peaceful lives. The man had heard stories of the wisdom of Buddha, who was known to visit this place. With a heart full of both hope and doubt, he longed for an opportunity to meet the great teacher face to face. On the 3rd day, his wish was granted. As the sun began to rise, casting golden rays across the lush gardens of the ashram, the man was led to Buddha, who sat in quiet reflection beneath a large tree. Its branches spread out wide like arms offering shade and comfort. The air around them felt sacred, filled with a stillness that seemed to slow time itself. Approaching with reverence, the man bowed and spoke, his voice a mix of desperation and yearning. "O Buddha," he began, "I have many questions swirling in my mind, and I seek your wisdom. Please, will you share your answers with me?" Buddha looked at him with kind, patient eyes and said, "Tell me, what is troubling you? What questions do you carry?" The man sighed deeply before replying, "I am not happy in my life. No matter where I go or what I do, I cannot find peace. It feels as if joy is always just out of my reach and I am trapped in constant sadness. I want to understand why this is happening to me." Buddha, his voice as calm as a still pond, asked, "First, tell me the root of your pain. What is it that causes your suffering and anxiety?" The man frowned, puzzled by Buddha's question. After thinking for a moment, he replied, "What kind of question is that? You are supposed to have the answers. Instead of helping me, you're asking me more questions." Buddha smiled gently, the lines on his face softening as if he were amused but understanding. "It is your pain," Buddha said, his voice warm with compassion, "so only you can truly know its cause." The man, still frustrated, said, "But Buddha, you are a great teacher, a prophet. Surely you can see into my mind and know all the answers. You should be able to tell me why I suffer." Buddha's smile widened slightly as he replied, "That is where you are mistaken. You believe someone else can remove your pain, but that is impossible. Only you can find the key to your happiness. The difference between you and me is that my mind is not clouded by confusion. The moment you clear your own inner fog, you will see the answers for yourself, and you won't need to ask a Buddha for guidance." The man was taken aback by these words, but remained silent, trying to absorb their meaning. After a moment, Buddha looked into the distance, his gaze softening as he spoke again, this time asking, "Have you ever truly looked at flowers?" The man blinked, confused by the sudden shift in the conversation. "Flowers?" he repeated. "Who hasn't seen flowers?" Buddha chuckled softly, then explained, "A flower blooms at dawn, opening its delicate petals to the morning sun. It unfolds its beauty throughout the day, basking in the light. But by evening, it begins to wither, and by nightfall it may die. Now, imagine if that flower knew from the start that it would wither and die by sunset. Would it have bloomed at all?" The man thought about this, his confusion deepening. "I don't understand. What does a flower's life have to do with my suffering?" Buddha's voice grew even softer, almost as if he were speaking directly to the man's soul. "In the same way," he continued, "if you live your life constantly thinking about your suffering, about the pain that might come tomorrow or the sadness of yesterday, you will never fully open yourself to the joy of today. The flower blooms because it is not worried about the evening. It lives fully in the moment, embracing its short life with grace and beauty." He paused for a moment, allowing his words to settle in. The man stood still, as if time itself had stopped, and the only sound that remained was the soft rustle of the wind through the trees. "There are countless reasons for you to find happiness," Buddha said, his voice now steady and filled with quiet strength. "But if you only focus on what makes you unhappy, you will never see them. You must learn to live as the flower does, unfolding in the present moment, embracing life as it is. This is the path to true happiness." Buddha's words began to resonate in the man's heart, their simplicity holding profound meaning. He had spent so much time caught up in his own worries, searching for answers outside of himself, that he had forgotten to live in the present. Buddha continued, "I can show you the way, but the path is yours to walk. Only by walking it yourself will you find the peace and happiness you seek." The man stood in silence, the weight of Buddha's words sinking deeper into his soul. After a long pause, he asked, "But Buddha, is it possible to solve all of my problems at once?" Buddha's eyes softened even more, a gentle smile on his lips as he responded, "You cannot untangle all the knots at once. Life is a journey, and each step you take will untie a knot. With patience and awareness, each problem will dissolve one by one. Trying to solve everything at once is like trying to drink the entire ocean in a single sip. Take each day as it comes, and you will find that the ocean of your troubles becomes much smaller than it seems." The man bowed deeply, feeling lighter than he had in years. He had come seeking answers, but he had received something far greater, the understanding that happiness was not something to be found, but something to be embraced. Buddha spoke softly at first, saying, "If someone were to tell you that you only had a few minutes left to live, your problems would suddenly seem unimportant. You would focus only on death, the ultimate truth of life. You'd realize that worrying is pointless since your time is so short. Our desires grow so strong that we live as if we'll never die, forgetting that life is brief. Happiness and sadness are both temporary. It's our karma and our thoughts that create these feelings." The man, listening carefully, asked, "So, should I always think about death to solve my problems?" Buddha gently replied, "No, don't think like that. Just remember that life is uncertain and enjoy every moment you're given. Reflect on this. There's so much joy in life. Live alongside it, clear your mind, and make sure there's no confusion in your heart. Desire is the root of all suffering. You can find eternal peace by simplifying your thoughts, like a child." "How can I control my mind?" the man asked. Buddha said, "You need to know the difference between joy and sorrow. Understand what happiness and pain mean to you. Controlling the mind is essential so it doesn't swing too far into happiness or sadness during extreme moments. You must keep your balance. When you closely examine the reasons for your suffering, you will realize that it's your mind creating it. By mastering your mind, you will let go of your pain." Then Buddha added, "There's one more small thing you can do to make your pain disappear forever." Eager to know more, the man asked, "What should I do, Buddha?" Buddha replied, "For the next 2 days, don't speak to anyone. Find a peaceful place and write down your thoughts. First, list your sufferings and their causes on one piece of paper. Then, on another, list your happiness and its causes. Take your time. Reflect deeply." The man bowed to Buddha and went to a quiet place. 2 days later, he returned with several papers. Buddha asked, "Let me hear the list of your pain." The man began, "First, all my brothers are rich, but I am poor and in debt. I constantly compare myself to others. I fear taking action, and I rest more than I work. Second, I wasted my money on bad company, so I couldn't save like my neighbors. Third, my wife has been sick for a long time because I neglected her. I never took her to a doctor, and honestly, I've often wished to marry a beautiful woman if she passed away. Fourth, even though I cry and worry about my lack of money, I create illusions of happiness. This is my fault because I drink to escape my sorrow. The man said, "These are my pains, and I see now that my actions and thoughts are at the root of them." Buddha smiled and replied, "Good. Now tell me about your list of pleasures." The man with excitement responded, "I am filled with joy. I've realized it would take hours to go through my long list of blessings. For instance, I have a loving family, I'm healthy, and I'm alive." Buddha, still smiling, said, "This is how life is for everyone. We waste so much time worrying about our suffering when, in truth, our lives are full of joy. Go on and live in peace, always remembering that life is too short to be a slave to misery." Buddha continued, "Find the source of your suffering and remove it. Until you do, you won't experience lasting happiness." Hearing this, the man had a moment of deep self-realization. He understood that his pain wasn't caused by outside circumstances, but by his own thoughts and actions. He realized that he had been missing meaningful relationships, clear ambitions, and a sense of purpose that had blocked him from fully appreciating the happiness that was already present in his life. Buddha then said, "Return to your family. Today will be your spiritual rebirth, not physical. Keep a balanced mind and live a life of peace. If you ever feel confused, remember, life is too short to be trapped in suffering. You weren't born to be a slave to pain. Find the source of your suffering, face it, and resolve it. Only then will you discover the deep joy and lasting peace that everyone seeks." Filled with gratitude and newfound understanding, the man bowed to Buddha once more. He realized that instead of searching outside for answers, he needed to look within, to confront the causes of his misery and correct them. With a fresh perspective, he went home, ready to live without unnecessary comparisons or desires. His life changed from that day forward, not because the world around him improved, but because he saw things differently. He found joy and contentment in the simple things and in the blessings he already had. The Buddha's teaching touched the man deeply, both in heart and mind. He understood that happiness wasn't something to be found outside, but was a choice, a state of mind. The Buddha had shown him the way, but it was up to him to walk the path, determined to live with clarity, free from suffering and fleeting happiness. With a smile on his face, the man walked away, knowing that though challenges would arise, he now had the tools to face them with a calm mind and a peaceful heart. He had not only transformed within, but had gained a new outlook on life, one that would lead him to the true happiness he had always sought. When the man returned home, he started using what he learned from the Buddha in his daily life. The Buddha had once said, "Life is short and only you can control your mind to free yourself from suffering." Every time worries tried to creep into his mind, he reminded himself of this. He began to notice and appreciate the small things, his family's presence, his health, and his ability to work and improve his life, without comparing himself to others. One day, as he watched his kids play in the garden, he realized how much he had changed on the inside. He used to stress about money and society's expectations, but now those concerns seemed like passing clouds, not worth his energy. He understood that although pain and loss are part of life, they do not define who he is, nor should they control his thoughts or actions. Over time, his relationship with his wife also improved. Instead of seeing her illness as a burden, he cared for her with love and devotion, realizing that true happiness came from helping others and being present for them. His wife noticed the change in him and began to heal, not just physically but emotionally too. The house, once full of tension and worry, became a place of love and peace. As he continued to follow the Buddha's teachings, the man stopped searching for answers outside of himself. He found that true wisdom was already inside him, and it was his responsibility to nurture it and live by it. He became a role model for his children, teaching them how to embrace every moment of joy and peace, and to live without fear of pain or hardship. Even though challenges still came his way, he faced them with calmness, knowing that inner peace comes from mastering your own mind. In the end, the man realized that the greatest gift the Buddha gave him wasn't knowledge, but the ability to see life with new eyes, free from unmet expectations and needless comparisons. And so the man lived the rest of his days in peace, knowing that happiness isn't found in things outside of ourselves, but in how we choose to see and experience each moment. The Buddha's teachings remind us that much of our suffering begins in our own minds. By reflecting on our thoughts and habits, we can free ourselves from unnecessary pain. The key to lasting happiness lies in controlling our thoughts, focusing on the joys in life right now and letting go of comparisons and cravings. When we find true inner peace, we can live with a calm and steady heart. Thank you for joining us on this insightful journey. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe for more thought-provoking discussions. Stay curious, inspired, and engaged. Until next time, farewell from Take Care.